This is Copper 90, and these are our top 10 January transfer flops of all time. At 10, it's Jose Antonio Reyes. The attacker's glittering performances for Sevilla prompted Arsene Wenger to shell out over £10 million for Reyes in January 2004. A promising start in the league and Champions League hinted that Wenger had unearthed another gem. The excitement was short-lived, however, as his form nosedived, and following a radio interview prank where he admitted wanting to go back to Spain, he was loaned out to Real before making a permanent move to Atletico. At 9, it's James Beattie. Everton thought they had signed the new Alan Shearer when they paid a club record of £6 million for the Southampton striker in January 2005. Scoring just one league goal in the rest of the season put paid to that comparison though. The following season was better, but his performance dipped dramatically in 06-07, scoring just 2 goals in 33 games before being sold on to Sheffield United at a loss. At 8, it's Kim Schallstrom from Spartak Moscow to Arsenal. It was only a loan, but it still ranks as one of the worst ever January signings. At the end of January 2014, Arsenal were a point off the top of the table, and with their first title for a decade in sight, they jumped at the chance of signing the experienced Swedish midfielder. What they got was an injured 31-year-old, whose best days were clearly behind him. He didn't play until the end of March and made just 4 appearances before returning to Russia. At 7, it's Jean-Alain Boumsong. After joining Rangers on a free 3 months earlier, the French international defender was suddenly signed by Newcastle for £8 million in 2005. Boumsong's initial impressions were promising, but his performance levels dipped drastically the following season, at the end of which he was sold to the newly demoted Juventus for just £3 million. At 6, it's Alfonso Alves. With a phenomenal 45 goals in 39 appearances for Heerenveen in the Eredivisie, Middlesbrough thought they had pulled off quite the coup when they signed Alves for a hefty €20 million in 2008. Unfortunately for Borough, Alves struggled to settle in the northeast and scored just 4 goals the following season as Middlesbrough were relegated. At 5 is Fernando Torres from Liverpool to Chelsea for a spectacular £50 million. The Spaniard's spell at Stamford Bridge was a spectacular failure. Alarm bells were ringing when the striker scored just 1 goal in his first 18 games in 2011. But many felt that the following year would be better with a full pre-season under his belt. Things went from bad to worse, and Torres managed just 19 goals in his next 92 games. At 4, it's Savio from Brescia to West Ham United. The statement signing of Germany under-20 international for a reported $9 million in 2009 was meant to show West Ham's Premier League ambitions, and with an Icelandic billionaire owner, the future seemed bright. However, the German failed to settle and started just 1 game before being sold to Fiorentina 6 months later. At 3 is Andy Carroll. With the Fernando Torres money burning a hole in their back pocket, Liverpool's bid for Newcastle's Andy Carroll went up and up as the clock wound down on the 2011 January transfer window. The £35 million fee eventually agreed was nearly double the first offer made just hours earlier. He was injured when he arrived at Anfield and didn't start a game for over 2 months. Though there were a couple of promising moments, the striker never regained his form at Anfield and was shipped out to West Ham, initially on loan, in the summer of 2012. At 2, it's Benny McCarthy. The striker arrived at Upton Park for £2.2 million in 2010, following a successful 4-year spell at Blackburn Rovers. Over the next 14 months, however, McCarthy made just 11 appearances and failed to score a single goal. He was fined for being overweight, and to make matters worse, attempts to send him out on loan failed due to his high wages. A year after he signed for the Hammers, they paid him £1.5 million to terminate his contract. At 1, it's Ricardo Rocha. In 5 years at Benfica, Ricardo Rocha had earned a reputation as one of the best defenders in European football. The Portuguese player made 9 appearances in the remainder of the 06-07 season, but that was as good as it got. He played just 5 times in 07-08 and didn't feature at all in the following season before being released at the end of his contract. Those are our top 10 January transfer flops. Did we miss out on any? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Copper 90.